Keeping our eyes on food security, the claim by the ranking member on the Food and Agri Committee, Eric Opoku, that Ghana imports tons of cassava and onions from China generated heated debate on the floor of the House as the Majority Chief Whip, Frank Anot-Dobre, challenging the MP to back his claim with evidence. But the ranking member insisted that the 2021 budget captured the importation of a number of staples, including cassava, as part of measures adopted by government to shore up the country's foodstuff. Parliamentary correspondent Parker Wilson joins us with more on this. So, Parker, what's unfolding in Parliament now as we're talking about food security? We also do know that a number of issues are happening on the floor of the House. What more can you tell us?
Blessed, let me just tell you that Parliament just about 10 minutes ago adjourned proceedings for today and will return tomorrow to continue their business. But on the conversation or the information you talked about earlier about the ranking member on the Food and Agri Committee, that matter was resolved, and this is how it was resolved. Let me tell you this. The first Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Joseph Osei, who was in the chamber at the time, he said that because this is a House of Records, indeed, the Esunafo South MP must prove. You know, he referenced the budget, the 2021 budget, and referenced a specific page. So the presiding speaker called for the budget, looked at the page, and indeed was established that in the 2021 budget, government had indicated that they were importing cassava. However, they did not tell us where the importation was coming from or where the country we are importing the cassava is from. And so that was where the first Deputy Speaker had a challenge and asked the House that they expunge the China from the record, because that is a bit misleading. You can say that we are importing cassava, but you cannot add that we are importing cassava from China or Burkina Faso, basically because the budget says so. So that was how it was resolved. They all agreed that indeed the country is importing a cassava. Now, shortly after that, you know, there's a big game for Ghanaians on Friday. We are preparing for the World Cup, and Parliament today has thrown its weight behind the Black Stars. In fact, there is a directive from the Speaker of Parliament, the first Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Joseph Osei, that on Friday, every member of Parliament, of course, if you have a jersey representing the Black Stars, whether the red, the yellow, or the white, you can come in your jersey in Parliament as a show of support for our young men who will be battling out with our brothers from Nigeria. And so members of Parliament today talked about how comments on social media and, of course, the media space should be about the ones that would encourage the players. They cited instances where some of the pronouncements that they have made in times past have negatively impacted on the performance of the Black Star. And I must say that about the AFCON performance, Parliament constituted a committee to look into the abysmal performance of the Black Stars during the AFCON. Now, the report, we are told that it was quite damning. However, Parliament has decided to shelve the report because of this game. They want to wait after this game, then they publish the report. They don't want the report to be an excuse where the players will say, because of the report, because of the concerns raised, because of the things that Ghanaians were saying, we were unable to perform. So there's a caution to every Ghanaian going forward that they should be careful of the things they say in social media. And to some of the ex-Black Stars players who have been making some unpalatable pronouncements, Parliament today has cautioned them. Well, they didn't mention any names. All they said was that ex-Black Star players have been making some demoralizing comments, and they are expecting those players, if you're an ex-Black Star player, and of course we know that in recent past, Asamoah Gyan has made some very damning and very controversial comments about the Black Star. So many were thinking that, well, it could be Asamoah Gyan, but Parliament is saying that any other individual, whether ex-player or Ghanaian, should be careful of the things that you say. And away from the chamber, tomorrow we are learning that the finance minister will appear before the House to talk about some austerity measures the government has adopted to ease the burden on the ordinary Ghanaian. I have been engaging some of the members of Parliament. In fact, both sides are sharply divided over what the finance minister should say. On the NDC side, they are clear in their minds that whatever the finance minister will be saying will not be innovative, will not solve the problem. He is going to talk about the usual rhetoric, about COVID-19, about the war with Ukraine. But one of the things that they're expecting him to do is to announce the collapse of what they call unproductive ministries. They think that the ministers designated to the office of the president have no business being there. You have sector ministers who are working within the various sectors. You have presidential staffers as well. And so you don't need a minister at the office of the president. What is he doing? The NDC MPs, in fact, Kofi Adams, is clear in his mind that these are unproductive ministries and must be scrapped with immediate effect. This will, at least one way or the other, reduce the burden on the ordinary Ghanaian, because when they sit for their allowances and all of that, I mean, it goes into the taxpayers' coffers. The Kwame Abuja raised concerns about the fact that the MP should slash their salaries. He disagrees. There was a proposal by the Information Minister, Kojo Ponkroma, that as part of measures to cut down on expenditure, there are plans to slash or cut down the salaries of members of parliament. He is saying that is a total no, outright rejection. This is because NPP MPs are rather on so many boards. And so even if you slash their salaries, they will get some stipends, some allowances from the boards when they attend board meetings. But NDC MPs do not have that luxury of serving on various boards. And so they will be at a disadvantage. And so the proposal that they should slash their salaries is a no-no. Roxy Nelson Dafiamepo accused government of not being consultative enough. In fact, this afternoon, he challenged them to show proof of the engagement they've done after the cabinet meeting. He, in his view, government should have rather engaged the stakeholders, consulted parliament, consulted other individuals before going for the cabinet retreat. And then they can now encompass or put together all the concerns raised by the ordinary Ghanaian in terms of how to solve the economic challenges at the cabinet retreat. And then they can take a very solid and a bold decision to deal with the problem. But that hasn't happened. Well, he says that this is more like shutting the stables after the horse has bolted. And so tomorrow, the exercise of the finance minister, whether addressing parliament or addressing the state via his press conference, will not yield the needed result. The NPP side, and I spoke to the Yendi member of parliament, Farouk Aliu Mahama, he is clear in his mind that every single measure which should be outlined by the finance minister, very comprehensive, will solve the problem, will lessen the burden on the ordinary Ghanaian. They have talked about how they will try and inject some 2 billion into the economy to stabilize the city, also the fuel prices. We are told that he is in talks with the energy ministry to look at how we can reduce it. And also the e-levy, which is very controversial in parliament. Farouk Aliu Mahama is saying that by the end of March 2020, barely within 2 weeks, the majority caucus have adopted a strategy and they will approve the e-levy by the end of this month. So Ghanaians should prepare their minds, should prepare their psyche that the e-levy will be implemented by the end of March, because they will get the needed numbers with the support of the minority caucus to approve the e-levy. I spoke to Collins Adumako Mensah, the Ifeja Kwabre South Member of Parliament. He has raised concerns about NAPCO. He believes that the NAPCO is not really the best, and so if government wants to scrap it, hallelujah, that's fine. But for free SHS, he is warning government against touching or reviewing free SHS, even though the NDC is very strong on the fact that the free SHS should be targeted. The NPP MPs are of the view that the free SHS should be given to every Ghanaian, whether you can afford to pay the fees of your ward or not. Every single Ghanaian who is who is in senior high school should enjoy the free SHS. So these are some of the conversations that have happened in Parliament today. And finally, before I go, the ranking member on the Health Committee,
if the finance minister will touch on that, do we know if the finance minister will touch on the free senior high school policy?
Well, you know that the information minister said that from top to bottom, all the flagship programs are up for review. And so, by extension, you can conclude that if the flagship programs, including free HS, would be up for review because it is part of the flagship programs for the governing NPP. But we are not certain whether indeed the review will touch the free SHS, because there are calls across board from civil society organizations, from even their own camp. I spoke to Kennedy Osenyakon, the member of parliament for Akim South, and of course the chairman on the Roads Committee. And he was clear that about 7 social intervention, government should scrap it. He talked about free SHS. That was number 1 on his agenda. He talked about NAPCO on agenda. So he is saying that if the Ghanaians are not seeing the benefits and are complaining about hardship. Government should suspend it and redirect the revenues to other areas of the economy that will yield a positive result and ease the burden on ordinary Ghanaians. So we are yet to hear the finance minister whether free SHS will be suspended or perhaps will be targeted. So it's two ways, either suspension or you target at those who don't have the money to pay for the awards. And then those who can pay now will go in and pay for the award. But finally for me, Blessed, as I mentioned, the ranking member on the health committee is asking government to, with immediate effect, halt the testing at Kotoka International Airport, the COVID-19 testing at the Kotoka International Airport. He believes that it's long overdue. Government should focus on those who are arriving into the country, that they are vaccinated. The campaign on vaccination should kickstart again so that people will now go in for the vaccines than testing them for $150, which he believes is on the high side. So these are some of the calls that the minority has made, and these are some of the positions from the NPP side with regards to the expectation of the finance minister coming to the House tomorrow to brief members on some of the austerity measures government has adopted to ease the ordinary Ghanaian from the economic hardship or the crisis currently that we are facing.
Parker Wilson giving us the very latest from Parliament. Be on the lookout for that here on the Joy News channel as we bring you updates tomorrow when the Finance Minister appears in Parliament.